Hi everyone, I can officially say good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, hi Dave. Sarah, hi. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
Hi Chris.
So how do you get people into that?
Hi Richard, nice to see you.
So you have
Yeah, morning all. Oh, well, good afternoon all. Hi.
Configuration, then pupils, and then
Gonna mute some background noise there. How is everyone? All right?
Yeah, good. Excellent, thanks.
Good. Excellent. Just let a few more people in as they're coming in. It takes a little while. Richard, quick question for you. Have you seen much more communications around the High Court ruling on business interruption?
I've written to all my clients to tell them that I'm not expecting the insurers to come back particularly quickly, although the FCA have asked them to come back quickly. Yeah. Judging by how they've dealt with it so far, they'll sit down and they'll try and work out what they can do to wriggle out of it, and then hopefully some of them will cough up, as they should.
Insurance.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, I'm in a difficult position here because the thing is, I strongly believe and firmly believe in the insurance market, otherwise it wouldn't be my occupation. Yeah. But equally, I do think that insurers do need to be held to account. And sometimes, and in this particular instance, the whole industry has not been helped by the stance that they've taken. Particularly now, they've taken it all the way to Supreme Court, and they've lost on a lot of the arguments. So I think now they have lost. I think they need to step up and not delay things any longer. What I am seeing is that a lot of my clients are now, even those that didn't have the cover in the first place, are writing saying, "Can I claim?" And I'll say, "Well, no." What the Supreme Court ruling did was ask insurers to interpret the wordings that were there in the first place in a different way. Not to add in wordings that were never insured in the first place.
No, that's fair.
So there's a bit of confusion around it. Some people are getting quite excited. I'm just saying, well, let's just the insurers now need to look at the ruling, and they need to come back with their decisions. And if it's the right decisions, great. If not, we'll support our clients to make complaints in those cases where we feel they're capable of winning the argument.
Okay. Yeah. Just for the benefit of the room, Richard runs an insurance broking firm, and there was a ruling. I think it was the end of last week around business interruption insurance. There's been a test case that was taken to the High Court with, I think, 5 insurers, and that ruled that insurers really should be paying for their business interruption. Is that fair, Richard?
Yeah, just the only thing I would say, it was the Supreme Court, so it's the highest court in the land. Right. So it can't go any further now.
Supreme. Yeah.
Yeah, it started off in the High Court and then leapfrogged straight to the Supreme Court. Used to be called the House of Lords.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Just a quick bit of housekeeping. If everyone, if you would like to right-click on your name, you can add your business name afterwards. If you look at, for example, Laura, you've got Laura Percival, SCOC, or Dave Crew, Western College. Dave's been on a few of these, so he knows how the game works. So if you'd like to do that, please feel free.
Although it does look like Western to most, doesn't
it? Hi, Fee. Nice to see you. Different background. All right, we'll just give it maybe one more minute. Just in terms of running order today, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Alistair Tudor. I'm the Commercial Operations Manager for Somerset Chamber of Commerce. We've got Laura Percival, who is running our events for us, our event coordinator. So thank you to Laura for bringing all this together. I would say that we're going to run around the room quickly. Just if you'd like to say who you are, where you're from, and maybe why you're in the call. Just literally quickly, 30 seconds, 20 seconds as we run round, that'd be helpful. And then I'm going to go to Tracey Watts. Tracey is a partner at Albert Goodman, and they're business partners of Somerset Chamber of Commerce and long-standing supporters of who we are and vice versa. We've come together to run a kind of specific project to inform businesses about R&D tax credits, make sure that they're benefiting from the tax break. So Tracey will go into a little bit more detail there. And then we've got Hilary Charman, who's going to talk to us from a Department of International Trade perspective. Hilary is an international trade advisor, so we'll kind of try to bring us as up to speed as we can on the changes that have happened over the last 21 days. So I'm going to start with Dave Crew. Dave, do you want to say hello? Just give us a quick introduction.
Oh yeah, thanks, Alistair. Yeah, Dave Crew from Western College. I lead the business engagement side of Western College, we've over the past 5 years we've seen a lot of growth in engineering and manufacturing skills training. So I'm just really interested to hear the conversation today, and it'll determine how we move forward as a business. So nice to see you all.
Thanks, David. I know a lot of the core structures have come from liaising directly with businesses, so it's really important that you get a feel for what businesses are after. Thank you. Vicky, Incotext?
Yeah, we manufacture office screens, soft seating, task seating, and yeah, just here just to get information or updated information.
Lovely. Thank you, Vicky. Richard?
Hello, Richard Tempany, commercial insurance broker based in Portishead in North Somerset. We deal only in commercial insurance, so I'm interested in insuring people's assets and liabilities, which is what we all need to trade. We specialise in a number of sectors: manufacturing, contractors, plant, motor fleet, trade, haulage, hospitality, which is why I was talking about the Supreme Court ruling, retailers, property owners, that kind of thing. So we operate a personalised service, which we think is missing from many of the larger insurance groups now that have all centralised and moved all their operations into service centres.
Great, thank you. Andrew?
Andy from SRK Scaffolding. Used to go to the First Thursday Club, but they've all foreseeable, and it's the first one I've done, so you'll have to bear with me if it's not working right.
Okay. Andy, we are running the First Thursday Club online, so if you'd like to join the February one, we'll make sure that you've got a link for that.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Lovely, thank you. Chris Barrett?
Hi, Chris Barrett, Auditel. We're supply chain and procurement consultants, particularly interested at the moment in businesses that are coming under pressure to improve their sustainability and emissions and performance activities. A lot of pressure coming on businesses either from customers, from staff, but more importantly, often from their own supply chain as they have to comply with regulations.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris. Sarah?
Hello everybody, I'm Sarah Duff from Smart Manufacture. We're based in Bristol and we help manufacturers, specifically manufacturing SMEs, change the way they do things. So streamline and automate their processes through a range of cloud-based software. So we're always interested in meeting more manufacturers, but also other companies that service the sector.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Sarah. John?
Afternoon, everybody. RSM, we're a mid-tier firm of accountants based in Bristol city centre. So I'm here today because we've got a focus actually in the manufacturing space across the southwest. We've got, as you'd expect, provide audit, tax, corporate finance, services. So keen to sort of network more across the southwest, across Somerset, and to learn more about your businesses. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Fiona?
Fiona or Fee?
Fiona.
Me. Okay, hello. My name's Fiona Chamberlain. I'm an international trade advisor. Started this role back end of last year, having just come back from the Middle East, and I've been working alongside Hilary for the last few months, just sort of getting my head around what I'm doing, starting to meet some people, and really pleased to be here just to sort of start to network with people outside.
Brilliant, thank you. And a nice and straightforward role and easy to understand at this time, so that's great. I have actually got Fee next to Fiona, so Fee Bellamy.
Hello, good afternoon. Nice to see you all again, and some the first time. I work at a small manufacturing firm down in Willerton, and we make LED handrails. My brain is going completely. Now I'm not in work. I can't get the words out. Brain's gone. That's it.
Different environment, isn't it? Yeah. It's a challenge for all of us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Andy Smith.
Good morning. Yeah, Fee, I understand exactly what you mean by that. So Andy Smith, yeah, I'm director at Midas Group. We're one of the larger construction organisations in the southwest. We've been particularly active around Bridgewater and Weston-super-Mare and in Somerset, and I'm particularly interested in doing more, if you like, increasing our market share in the industrial manufacturing sector. We've already got quite a strong presence, but hence why I'm just looking to see what the mood is on that and what's occurring, really.
Brilliant.
I'm here.
Thanks, Andy. Rob, nice to see you.
The little spacebar thing chooses not to work when you want to speak.
Doesn't it?
Indeed. Good to see you guys. My name's Rob Butcher. I'm General Manager at a company called Brawn Ability. Some of you may have known it in a previous guise as Unwind Safety Systems. We're a manufacturing company based in Martock, producing restraint and supporting products for people travelling in wheelchairs. So that's sort of what we do down here.
Lovely. Thanks, Rob. I'm going to come to Sharon next.
I think Sharon is not actually there, Alistair. She mentioned in the chat she's going to look at the recording afterwards.
Okay, fine. Laura Mabry.
Hi, yeah, I'm Laura Mabry. I work for a non-destructive testing SME called Theta Technologies. We're actually based down in Exeter, but I live just outside of Bristol. So I'm keen to sort of expand our area a bit more and just understand who's out there in terms of networking.
Yeah, okay, lovely. Welcome, Laura. And last but by no means least, Dan.
Good afternoon, Dan from Dan's Engineering. We're still access providers for the utility sector, mainly working with Wessex Water and Hinkley Point.
Brilliant, thank you, Dan. Welcome. Right, I'm going to hand over to Tracey Albert Goodman. I know that you've got a presentation that Laura will share as well, so I'll hand over to Tracey now. Thanks, Tracey.
Thanks, Alistair. Laura, do you mind sharing the slides, please? Thank you. I'm Tracey Watts. I head up the tax team at Albert Goodman, and John from RSM already did our sales pitch, full service, audit, tax, financial service advisors. Whilst I head up the tax team at Albert Goodman, I specialise in business and company tax, so looking at capital allowances, other reliefs such as research and development, which we'll run through this morning, as well as restructuring and corporate finance matters. And we're really delighted this morning to be sponsoring this event for the Chamber, and even more delighted that we formed a partnership in rolling out a research and development offering to our Chamber members to help all the member firms make sure that they're maximising any claim for this particular relief. If you're not already claiming this, I really do encourage you to look at this carefully. It's an incredible relief for businesses that might qualify that don't really think that they've got an opportunity to claim. We'll work with you to help identify and maximise any claims, and in particular looking at the tax savings that can just so greatly benefit your businesses at this time. It helps fund investment, but more importantly, it helps your business survive now and future-proofing it. Now, if we go to the next slide, what this talk isn't about is boring you with a half hour of what R&D is. I'm not here to do that at all. It's just a real high-level review of the incredible benefit to business. I can't emphasise that enough. You get another 25% tax relief on qualifying costs, and not only a 19% on what you're already spending, but another 25% on top. If your business ends up with a tax loss in the year, you can sell that tax loss back to revenue and end up with a tax refund. And these are really important. They're important at any time, but when you are in desperate need of cash, what is not to like about claiming this relief? Now, you can go back 2 years, depending on when your accounting year is. And as I say, it does give terrific cash flow benefits to a business at a critical time. Let's just go into the next slide. Where are we in 2021? So potentially a lot of changes coming up. I think businesses are going to struggle when making their claims this year, because a lot will have been closed. Last year they would have had staff on furlough. Staff costs are often the biggest cost that we can make a claim for. So if you've had people on furlough and they've not been actively doing R&D, the claim will ultimately be smaller. That's why it's important to consider your claiming ability now to make sure that you make the best of the 2-year opportunity before any of that time drops out of the claim period. Various costs are going to be lower. Not only will your staff not have been working, but you've obviously had their costs covered anyway by furlough measures. So there are the calculations next year are going to be more complicated, because if you're used to claiming under the small and medium scheme, some of you might already be familiar with that, you will now be moving into the large company scheme on certain parts of the claim. There is a new change coming in from April, which is an anti-avoidance measure. So historically, we've had businesses setting up from all over the world coming to set up R&D teams in the UK, but not actually paying wages in the UK. So they've been able to benefit from really big refunds without having paid any tax here. So the change is aimed at preventing that abuse, and any claims will be restricted to 3 times your PAYE cap. So again, it's going to place added burden on businesses. Where are we with Brexit? As Hilary will be talking to you shortly, who knows? Bit in the dark as far as R&D goes, but the fundamental point is that R&D was a European state aid. We were subject to anti-competition rules. The EU set the rate at which we can give relief for R&D in the UK, and there are restrictions on if you're claiming with an Innovate UK, for example, you can't claim more than 1 state aid. As we come out of the EU, we will be, sorry, just getting a pop up there, I can't see my slide. Whilst we're coming out of, as we've come out of the UK, so we're now part of the World Trade Organization agreements, and the UK will be managing its own state aid, which potentially gives the government more flexibility in being able to increase the tax relief rates. And they might consider doing that in order to stimulate investment in technical and scientific advancements. Closer scrutiny, what's that about? Claims, just going back to that anti-avoidance, there are, R&D has been getting a lot of bad press recently because there are some less than robust claims going in from various parties. A particular high-profile case showed that the client didn't even see the report, didn't even know what they were claiming for, because the R&D specialist firm wouldn't share the report with them. So they really had nothing to defend when it went to the tribunal under review. So I think we are going to get more inquiries into R&D. Loads of businesses make these claims already, and we do see many that we actually just won't submit for our clients. So I think the landscape on this is going to change. That does not alter the fact that if your business is carrying out R&D, you should be looking at making a claim and benefiting from the cash flow that comes out of this. That's all I had to say on this. As I said, I did not intend to go in any technical detail. So if any of you wanted to understand the ins and outs of R&D, maybe we can do a follow-up if there's an appetite for it. But the last slide just shows some of the businesses we've worked with. Dealing with R&D with our clients is just a brilliant opportunity to get to know what our clients do. It's not about producing a set of accounts at the end of the year. Nobody's interested in audits, probably, although my audit colleagues would not thank me for saying that. We've worked with aviation, whether that's the provision of food on board or the components that go into the planes. There's software, lawnmower developers, manufacturing, precision engineering, automating systems. The space industry, we've got a lot of clients that produce parts for the space industry, and the rail industry as well. So and construction. So just such a broad range of businesses. And I love it. I love going out, and I think that we've got some absolutely amazing businesses in Somerset, and I'm always delighted to be working with them. And obviously delighted to work with the Chamber, Alistair.
Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, and look, I'd second that. You know, we do have some fantastic businesses. You know, the Somerset Chamber of Commerce and working for the Chamber is a really good opportunity for us to be fantastically nosy, and really kind of understand what people are doing behind those closed doors. I think the key thing with these R&D tax credits is if you have technical people finding a technical solution to something, it's going to cost you money to have that person doing it. And we're talking about wages, we're talking about outsourced things or new materials, anything like that can be lumped into these R&D tax credits, if that's correct, Tracy. And then
apart from the new materials, if it's got to be consumed within it, not what you're then selling.
You can't then produce with it, but if you're purchasing things specifically for this R&D phase,
that's it.
So for a business where they're incurring costs on developing new products, technical people finding technical solutions, whether it be physical, software, anything like that, it's a really good way of claiming some of the tax back. And we're delighted to be working with Albert Goodman. We've had a long relationship with them as a firm, and we know how well they're regarded by their customers. So really good partnership. Thank you, Tracy. If you do have any questions on this, we will be sharing afterwards a link for the video. This is being recorded, and now we'll make sure that you've got Tracy's details in that thank you email as well in the follow-up. Right, I'm going to hand over to Hilary Charman, who is International Trade Advisor, Department for International Trade. Tracy did ask where we are with Brexit, and I think we're about to find out. Hilary.
Good afternoon, everybody, and nice to be asked to present to you today. Could we just have the first slide up, please? I was talking to the team just before the presentation, and we were saying, oh, you know, how is everything going out there? And I think we need to look the truth in the face. In actual fact, there are some real issues arising as Somerset companies work out the changes they have to implement to export, particularly to the EU. Generally, I would say that where companies have exported outside of the EU, so for example to places like China, America and India, they're experiencing fewer issues. But my whole presentation today is about helping companies carry on exporting. So I feel really, I just want to get across the message, we're here to help, really. Thank you. If I could have my next slide, please. Right, so our local support, so we are actually based in Bristol in Lee Court, but we have an international trade centre there. We have 3 people who currently at the moment are doing very little else apart from helping companies deal with Brexit queries. So we have experienced advisors there who you can phone or email. We also have 19 international trade advisors like myself and Fiona, who introduced herself to you earlier. We tend to, I, for example, have dealt with 2 of the companies on the call, Vicky from Incotex and Brawn Ability, although I don't think I've met Rob in person. We have market specialists, so they, for example, deal with particular regions that we're trying to export to. For example, we have a Latin America and Far Eastern specialist, a lady who's a specialist for India, and we also have 4 sector specialists. For example of that would be a lady who's just moved down from the northeast, and she now represents heavy industry. She has a particular background in automotive, for example. Knowing that companies are going to be looking to sort of take advantages of all of the free trade agreements, we've set up something called the Export Academy, which is really a training program, a virtual set of webinars to actually introduce exporting to companies. And we also have 2 team leaders. So next slide, please. What actually is an international trade advisor? So we tend to have commercial experience in the past. I've been working with Somerset companies since 2008, but before then I was an export manager myself. I've worked as a marketing manager, national account manager in Germany, for example. And I work for the Department for International Trade, and my job really is to provide professional and impartial export advice. What I say to my clients is really, I'm on your side, you know, I'm on your side of the fence, and I'm really here to help. My main role is to help companies with their export strategy. So a lot of my job is, oh, what do I do now? How do I get my goods from A to B? But really what we're trying to do is, if, for example, you are somebody who has just really responded to export inquiries from your website, my role is really to then say, okay, let's have a look at this. Could we perhaps start being more of a proactive exporter to particular countries and so on? And really, we have a major network throughout the world. We have advisors in every country in the world working in embassies. And for example, recently, Fiona and I helped, I think it was over 50 Southwest companies, so not just from Somerset, speak to my commercial advisor colleagues throughout the world. So I think there was one company that spoke to 10 advisors, starting in the Far East at about 7 o'clock in the morning and ending up with talking to one of my colleagues in Latin America, 7 o'clock in the evening. Next slide, please. So what kind of support, this is what I'm really asked, apart from over the kind of things I've discussed already. We're still issuing exhibition grants, although obviously the exhibition sector is in something of an uproar. That is one of our major funding programs. We also deliver OMIS, which is market research, throughout our embassies and throughout the countries we work with throughout the world. One thing I particularly like to mention to companies, because this is very, very new, this was actually launched just before Christmas, and I have now 9 companies that have received notification that they will receive one of these grants. It is European funding, and it can be used for visiting trade fairs, market visits. What a lot of my companies are using it for at the moment is to, I think, really adjust to our new virtual environment. And so we're looking at having websites translated, videos created, to get the message, keep on getting the message out there if we can't actually go and visit clients and reach out. A lot of social media support and things like that. So that is available if you're in Somerset, which I think most of you are. It's 50% match funding. I think there was a lady from Devon, and if the company's based in Devon, they get 60% match funding. Thank you. If I could have the next slide. The Export Academy I mentioned, people can sign up. And one thing I would like to say, although you might have experienced exporters within your company, if you have new employees who would like some training, I've got a couple of my Somerset companies who have put new people on through the Export Academy. As I understand at the moment, we still have a little space if that is something that would appeal to you. A lot of our information that we send out to companies comes through great.gov.uk. If you've not engaged with that, one thing I suggest you have a look at are the export opportunities, and just key in your product. It's I'm afraid not as a snazzy SEO support system as something like Google or Amazon, but if you start off by putting in something like cheese, you might be able to find out the sheer range of export opportunities that are on offer coming from our embassies and colleagues overseas. If you have a particularly niche technical product, then I think it might be worth just checking in with me, and we'll see if we can help you otherwise. But it's quite interesting to see the range of export opportunities. So, for example, we had an export opportunity last week from the agricultural Agritech Agricultural Bank of Tanzania, who were looking for British companies to supply them. That would be an example. So I think really, if anybody's interested in that, that's a very good place to start. If you are looking at any sort of Brexit regulations and how to actually, what you might need to know, there are a lot of tools on great.gov.uk to get you started. Thanks very much indeed. The contract for delivering export services for the government in the South West is held by Business West, based up at Lee Court in Bristol. They also manage the Bristol Chamber of Commerce, and as such, what they're trying to do really is help companies in a very practical way to carry on trading through Brexit. If any of you haven't signed up for this, can I please urge you to do so, because they've got lots of very, very user-friendly information sources on there that my companies and clients are feeling very, very useful. Thanks very much indeed. Okay. Now, if you have looked at various websites and you think, actually, I have a specific problem that I would like to deal with, Somerset County Council currently are offering one-to-one clinics, so these are free to companies, and they're actually being hosted by Linda Middleton-Jones's company. She used to be very much involved in the Somerset Chamber, and you might remember her from her days at the Chamber. And I would really commend these to you. We are going to send you an extra slide at the end of the event. On that slide, it does say that this is only available to the end of January. However, I spoke to Somerset County Council this morning, and we're going to try and extend it until, well, hopefully throughout February as well, because we think people are sort of adjusting in January. So some people might be sort of really gearing up to making their first sort of exports back into Europe from February. So we're trying to extend this service. Again, that's free of charge. Thank you. Okay. This is something that we have now. This is a programme that's running out, but it is still available until the end of March. It is available to companies in the heart of the Southwest LEP area. I'm afraid that doesn't include Western and some of the other sort of North Somerset and over the Bath area. But if you're sort of on the edge of and not quite sure whether you qualify and in the heart of the Southwest area, please just send me your postcode and I will clarify it. If you're not in the heart of the Southwest, we would endeavour to make sure you're getting a good service anyway. So the kind of things that this is helping company with is threefold. You can have a market selection and market prioritisation activity session. And that is where, supposing you're looking at, right, where do I go to now? Some people might say, oh, I've been exporting quite successfully to Europe. I'd now like to reach out to other countries overseas. And what the market prioritisation exercise does is really using statistics and data sources. We start giving you a priority list of countries where you might be able to start looking at and where it's going to, if you like, suit your company best. We then move on to provide free market research in one country. What I've also arranged for a couple of companies in Somerset recently is, rather than focusing on just one country, I've been trying to say, okay, let's have a look at different opportunities in but at a sort of higher level across a range of countries. So we have our own desk-based market research team based at Leigh Court in Bristol. The other thing that you can have under this programme is digital advisories. Now, these are incredibly powerful. We've got 2 brilliant digital advisors. What they do is they carry out an initial audit. So they'll look at your existing website. They'll find out where you want to export to, or what your aims are. And then they will really do something of a gap analysis. What they can also do is, if you're, for example, thinking, okay, you're not getting very good SEO performance, or, for example, you're thinking, oh, I'm wondering about perhaps doing something like dealing at Amazon overseas, or you might say, oh, I'd actually like to deal with another sort of e-commerce platform that's in Indonesia, for example. They can advise on those issues. We also have a lovely lady called Barbara, who's one of our export managers, and she can run tailored projects for companies. She's just done some brilliant work for, I think, 3 or 4 of my Somerset companies, one of which was actually ploughing through a whole drawer, I kid you not, of leads and business cards that one of my lovely companies had got at various exhibitions overseas, and never had a time to do a thing about them, and just popped them all in a drawer. So she does a lot of regulatory, and she's also a chartered marketeer. And so if companies are struggling with marketing strategy, I will often put them in touch with Barbara. So thanks very much. So these are my contact details. As you know, we have another of my colleagues, Fiona, on the call as well, and her details, I'm sure she'll put it in the chat for you, but it's fiona.chamberlain@mobile.trade.gov.uk. So I think my main message is we're here to help. We're here to help, and you know, no times are tough at the moment. I have a lot of companies, I would like to say, ending on a high note, that companies are exporting more than they've ever done before, particularly through the e-commerce space, and growing through exports. So it might seem a bit counterintuitive at the moment, with us leaving the EU, to be thinking, okay, right, now's the time to start exporting. But I would say there is a lot of capacity in Somerset companies to be doing more in the export space. And as I say, we're here to help. Thanks very much.
Lovely, thanks, Hilary. Yes, certainly some good resources there if you are exporting at the moment, or indeed importing, or looking to in the future. So obviously we'll make sure that we share contact details for Hilary and Fiona and the rest of the team there as well. I will ask if anyone's got any questions. I've got a couple certainly that I could potentially kick off with, but did anyone have anything burning that they wanted to bring up initially? Okay. In terms of, I've got to be careful of my wording here as we discussed, Hilary. I know there's been quite a lot of headlines around businesses that have been struggling to get their heads around the changes in terms. Do you want to just touch on maybe where the majority of your queries are coming from, and potentially where businesses are finding the most issues at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, effectively, we could ask a courier to send goods to anywhere in the EU without any documentation whatsoever. Our companies were considered compliant. We were in a single market. I know we kept on saying we're exporting to France and we're exporting to Germany, but in actual fact, in terms of moving the goods from A to B, it was very, very simple, and that was one of the major strengths of the EU as far as the UK was concerned. I'm not here to discuss the politics whatsoever. My role is sort of getting the goods from A to B. So now we've left that system, and companies are having to adjust. So things are happening such as, and it's not just our companies that are adjusting to the new normal, it's German and French companies as well. And so really, as companies are rolling out, you know, servicing their clients, we're hitting barriers which are to be overcome. And quite frankly, I feel that people are learning how to overcome these barriers at the moment. And people are asking lots and lots of questions. I would like to say to anybody, please don't think that anything you're worried about in terms of export is a silly question. Different things are happening. There's a lot of information about changing labels, for example. One thing, just to illustrate what I'm doing in my life at the moment, if you are in the food production space, you may see that you, for example, can use a Northern Ireland address for your food labellings to be compliant in the EU. And I've been doing a lot of work sort of trying to find how we might set that system up for companies based in Somerset, for example. So there's a learning, you know, we're on a learning curve. I think everybody's on a learning curve. But as you say, everybody is somewhat in the same boat at the moment. So I would like to say, yeah, if you're struggling, just reach out. We'd much rather you reach out to us and talk to us about the problems than say, okay, I'm just not going to export for a while. One thing I would like to offer, if anybody is feeling that they would like to give some what we call business intelligence, but in plain English that is feedback, to the ministers up at Whitehall, we have a way of sending through comments up to London. So, for example, they could trace it back to you theoretically, but in actual fact they don't. So what an example of how this worked was at the beginning of the first lockdown, I sent lots of information up to London saying, my companies are actually grappling with CBILS, indeed talking to banks and not getting very far. So I must have sent about 20 comments up from companies up to London, and then sure enough, the bounce-back loans were rolled out. The other thing was, when furloughing was introduced, companies were saying, yeah, but I really need someone in for 2 days a week, you know. So we sent up lots of messages, flexible furloughing, please, and sure enough, flexible furloughing, you know, was rolled out. So if you would like to send something up to London, what we need really is a paragraph with a pithy first sentence saying what it's about. Every scrap of information I send up is read and processed. You won't particularly, well, I mean, you won't actually get an individual response, but what happens is if there is a consensus of opinion, that then goes up to ministerial level. I have one, for example, one company, actually Bristol company, very large food ingredient producer, and I've been putting them in touch with HMRC to have an issue resolved, for example. So you know, it's just a way of, if you're experiencing issues and you think, actually, I would like this to happen in terms of policy. I can't tell you that Boris Johnson is going to do X, Y, or Z. I don't know that your bit of feedback will change his mind on any particular point. But what I would like to say to you is, if you have comments you would like to go up, I can pass them back, particularly where they're affecting businesses, because they would like to hear of issues that are facing businesses, or if businesses are overcoming obstacles. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Hilary. And yeah, the same goes for your local Chamber of Commerce as well. Everything that we get that we can push back to the BCC, the British Chamber of Commerce, and take it to Westminster is really valuable. And certainly when we look at things like the quarterly economic survey that we run nationally, the Somerset results are great in terms of the black and white of answering the questions. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes to do, so it's not a lot of time. But the real colour comes in the comment section, where people write about their experiences and what they're going through, and actually where the most constructive comments come from. So, you know, keep an eye on that as well. Any kind of questions that are coming out of this? Is anybody sort of seeing anything within their own business that is particularly challenging at the moment that the group might be able to help with?
Not from, I mean, we export quite a lot, and we work as part of a European organisation. So we've seen a number of challenges, but I'm not sure anyone here can particularly help us, because it seems like our European importers, if you like, our head office, are refusing to change their paperwork to put things like commodity codes and country of origin stuff on, so we have to do it for them. You know, so we've got internal issues more than anything else. I think the biggest challenge we're facing at the minute is dealing with carriers and transport providers. They're still struggling to make sense of what they've got to do, and because they're acting on our part, you know, that's a big challenge. And obviously we're one of a multitude of customers. And the second area where we're starting to see a bit of challenge is with packaging. We use some wooden packaging which has to undergo a heat treatment process now to go into Europe, and our sub-suppliers haven't prepared for that, so they can't deal with the increase in volume for that particular aspect of what we take from them. So we're starting to run into those sorts of difficulties, which are transient in nature, but a pain in the backside while they're happening.
Yeah, and I guess it's a case of everybody learning these new trading arrangements on the job. There wasn't obviously and Hilary's right, we don't want to get political on this, otherwise we'll be here all afternoon. I've got some stuff to do. But you know, we are learning on the job how this is going to run. We didn't have a lot of lead time into it. We don't want to use the phrase teething problems, do we, Hilary? But you know, this is an opportunity to or you know, a challenging situation for a lot of us. Yours is quite interesting because you've got an EU head office that is kind of almost, by the sound of it, saying that's your problem.
There's a little bit of that. I mean, that I've seen that coming from the instant we made the vote, because I ended up being the person that was keeping track of things, because it was like, it's a UK thing. And do you know what? If that's what it is, that's what it is. You know, we just have to get on with it and make it happen.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, and it is frustrating. Yeah, I appreciate that. Tracey, you mentioned obviously the R&D tax credit can be backdated for 2 years, so there is an opportunity to claim some cash back from HMRC. So if any businesses that either you run or you know that have done R&D over the last 2 years, there can be a bit of a cash windfall coming back.
Yeah, certainly. And when you do look at the 2 years, that can have quite a significant impact on the business and just generate funds that were just not there today. No expectation of the funds and no plans for what those funds will be used for, and it's just a bonus coming into businesses.
Yeah, and you know, at a time when so many businesses are strapped for cash, the turnaround from HMRC on this, as I understand it, is pretty quick.
Yes, yeah, particularly through sort of through July to September of last year. You know, we were seeing them pretty much. You would load a claim up, and the next day the refund would be sitting in the client's bank account.
Yeah, so that could be transformational at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Did anyone else have any more questions? Okay, there's a couple of things that I want to cover. Obviously, thank you to Tracey and thank you to Hilary in terms of the information that's on there. It might be that it's not quite pertinent to you and your business, but the likelihood is that you might know other people or other businesses that are struggling at the moment, that are developing new products that might be able to benefit the R&D side, or indeed struggling to export. And we'll make sure that you've obviously got Hilary's details as well on that one and her team. Couple of things that I want to mention. We do have a couple of other EU events coming up. One is on the 26th of January, which is in conjunction with our colleagues in Devon Chamber. That's really looking at the changes in trading conditions and things that we need to conform with. And we've got another on the 23rd of February, which we're running, which is around data and intellectual property. There are some changes, obviously, to those things going into Europe as well. We're just finalising the speaker lineup there, but we've got a tame lawyer who we'll be hearing from, who can give us the legal position. We've got somebody who's going to be talking about e-commerce as well. Obviously, Hilary's mentioned a couple of things around e-commerce in terms of changes to maybe how your website is presented or what fees you're needing to add on. So there are some changes there, and we're hoping to get a group legal director from a large can't say who at the moment, but a large Somerset-based firm who will give us the kind of the business perspective on actually the ins and outs of how to manage these things and things like cybersecurity. So interesting stuff, interesting changes to what we're doing and how we're doing it. So, you know, if you want to jump on those are on the website. We already mentioned as well, First Thursday Club. If you're in the construction sector, I know Fee, you're a regular on that one. Andrew, be delighted to see you on that one as well. They are all running virtually, and the next one's on 4th of February. And Laura, maybe if we can send out the link for that on the thank you email.
Yeah, will do.
Other than that, I'll say thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming along and taking part in this. If you have any questions at all, feel free to give us a call. I'll let you enjoy your afternoons. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Alistair. Thanks, Laura.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Tracy.
I'm going to put Sharon in the waiting room. Oh, Sharon's gone. There you go.